What is up, everybody? Man, we just got the kind of update that for Niners fans were hoping for right before training camp. And honestly, it couldn't have come at a better time. I'm hyped to bring this to you because when we're this close to seeing the guys back on the field, every piece of news matters, especially when it's about a player who could become a real difference maker. Now, I'm not gonna lie, there's a bit of a roller coaster of emotions in today's episode. We've got some exciting developments, one or two things that might get you scratching your head, and even a downer or two, but we're gonna walk through it all and finish with something that should leave you fired up heading into camp week. So buckle up, because we're diving deep. Now, before I even get into the heart of the news, let me hit you with a fun little question for the day. I know a lot of you are fantasy football junkies like I am, so I gotta ask, are you drafting Ricky Pearsall this year? I'm in a dynasty league and unfortunately, I missed out on him. Didn't snag him, and that already stings because his name keeps coming up in trade talks. Seriously. Just the other day I was in the middle of back and forth conversations with both parties in a Pearsall trade, trying to get a read on whether it was a smart move or just some hype-based risk-taking, and that got me thinking, are there folks out there who are genuinely that high on Ricky Pearsall heading into this season? If so, hit the comments. I want to hear from you. Would you take the risk? Is he sleeper gold? Or are we jumping the gun? Because, let me tell you, there's a reason this conversation's even happening, and it's not just fantasy hype. It's because we just got a really encouraging update on Pearsall's status heading into training camp. And it sounds like everything is on track. This came straight from Matt Mayoko, who said that unless something happened behind the scenes that absolutely no one is aware of, Ricky Pearsall is expected to be a full go when the 49ers hit the field for their first training camp session this week. We're talking Wednesday, real practices, helmets on, and Pearsall ready to go. That's the update fans were waiting for. There were no signs of a setback since Shanahan last spoke about him, which is a huge green flag. Apparently, Matt reached out to both the team and Pearsall's camp end. While no one gave a definitive answer, because that's how teams roll sometimes, keeping it close to the vest, he felt confident enough to say that Pearsall should be out there, participating. You gotta remember, Kyle Shanahan had already hinted earlier that Pearsall probably could have suited up for OTA letters, but they were just playing it cautious. They didn't want to push him too early. So that alone should give us some hope that this isn't some lingering issue. This is a player who might have already been healthy weeks ago, but was being held out for long-term protection. That's smart, and now it's paying off, and honestly, the timing could not be better. Because when you look at the 49ers wide receiver situation right now, it's not exactly overflowing with depth. We're in a spot where another injury or setback could throw things into chaos. So having Ricky Pearsall potentially ready to jump in at full speed is massive, and let's be real, this is a golden opportunity for the rookie. This might be the best chance he ever gets in his NFL career to prove himself early. The runway is clear. Brandon AIYUK is still working his way back from injury. And even once he's back on the field, there's going to be a ramp-up period. That opens a window for someone else to shine. If Pearsall can take advantage of those reps, if he can build some chemistry with Brock Purdy right out of the gate, he could force his way into a significant role. And let's not forget, we've also got Jawin Jennings still in a somewhat uncertain position. I'm not saying there's a trade on the table or a holdout coming, but hey, stranger things have happened if anything unpredictable happens with Jennings, or if the front office decides to take a hard line in negotiations. Pearsall's path to snaps becomes even clearer. Combine that with the current health questions around AIYUK and the recent not-so-great news on Demarcus Robinson, and it's not hard to imagine a world where Ricky Pearsall is lining up as a top 2 receiver early in the season. And I know what you're thinking, is this all just hype? Maybe, but look at it this way. If Pearsall gets those early reps and makes the most of them, not only will fantasy owners who took a shot on him look like geniuses, but it'll also validate what Shanahan and John Lynch saw in him during the draft process. Remember, they took him with a first-round pick. That wasn't an accident. That wasn't just some reach or gamble. That was them seeing something special in a player who fits their system. And if he shows flashes early, even just enough to prove he belongs, that's going to go a long way toward justifying that decision. And yeah, it gets better. Because while everyone was understandably focused on which players landed on the PUP and NFI lists when training camp rosters dropped, there was a sneaky bit of good news that flew under the radar. G.A. Brown was not on that list. That's significant. Brown had a bit of an injury during OTA letters and didn't participate for a chunk of that period. So the assumption was that he might not be ready for camp, but here we are, and he's not on any injury list. That tells us he's healthy, ready to go, and the team feels good about where he's at. And that's important because right now, safety depth is something we really need to keep an eye on, with Malik Mustafa already out and question marks surrounding the rest of the depth chart. Getting Brown back is huge, but not everything's trending upward. There's some stuff that's more on the disappointing side, and unfortunately, we've got to talk about that too. George Odom was just released. Now, some fans might shrug that off, but Odom played a massive role on special teams last year, over 2/3 of the snaps. That's a big presence to lose, especially for a unit that honestly struggled throughout the season. Now, there's some reporting out there that he had surgery on his elbow last month. So maybe this move is tied to that. Could be a situation where he ends up back on the team after recovering. Or maybe he becomes one of those off-season casualties that the team revisits later on. We've seen the Niners do this before. Trent Taylor's name comes to mind, in and out of the roster, mixed depending on health and numbers. So don't completely rule out a reunion. It's also worth noting that the new special teams coordinator, Brant Boyer, has spent the entire offseason reshaping that unit with his own guys. So it could just be a numbers game or a schematic fit thing, and Odom ended up on the wrong side of it. Either way, it's a bummer to lose a veteran contributor this close to camp, and it opens some questions about what the plan is for that third phase of the game. Still, it's not like that's the biggest storyline this week. What really put a bit of a damper on things is the growing expectation that Demarcus Robinson is going to be suspended. According to multiple reports, including from Matt Barrows, the team is bracing for it. It's not official yet, but it would actually be more surprising at this point if he doesn't get hit with some kind of suspension. All signs point to a violation of the league's substance abuse policy, likely stemming from something last season. There was some earlier confusion, folks mixing it up with a DUI, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Either way, if he misses time, that's another hole in the receiver room, and once again, that makes Pearsall's readiness and potential even more critical. Now, switching gears for a moment, let's talk about something that really got me thinking. I came across a clip the other day. Greg Cosell, one of the most respected film analysts in the game, was on the Ross Tucker podcast. And this wasn't one of those segments where someone was asked a pointed question about Brock Purdy to force a soundbite. This was Cosell naturally talking about quarterback play, specifically the difference between what he calls pre-snap and post-snap processors. And guess what? He brings up Brock Purdy completely unprompted and calls him an elite processor. Let that sink in. Cosell's not the kind of guy who throws around praise lightly. If he says someone's elite in any category, it means he's seen the tape, he's broken it down, and the guy has earned that label. He talked about how rare it is these days to find quarterbacks who can really dissect defenses after the snap, not just call out a blitz or adjust a protection, but truly read and react in real time. He compared today's QBS to the Brady Breeze Manning era and noted that Purdy, along with maybe Joe Burrow and Aaron Rodgers, belongs in that rare post-snap elite tier. That's high praise, and it made me nostalgic. Man, I ended up pulling up the Seahawks game from back in 2022, Purdy's second start after the blowout win against Tampa Bay. Watching it again with fresh eyes, knowing everything we know now about who Brock Purdy is and how he operates, it was wild to see how composed he looked. Even back then, he went something like almost an entire half without throwing an incompletion. The offense wasn't even fully opened up for him yet. You could tell they were still limiting the playbook, easing him into it, but even so, you could already see the traits. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to For Niners Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. San Francisco 49ers fans are buzzing after a surprising and uncharacteristically sharp comment from star running back Christian McCaffrey about wide receiver Brandon AIYUK. During a recent media appearance, McCaffrey, known for his professionalism and team-first mentality, seemingly threw shade at AIYUK in a moment that has ignited speculation about potential locker room tension. Although the full context of McCaffrey's remarks hasn't been officially released, those present described his tone as dismissive when asked about AIYUK's off-season behavior and commitment. Some people are more focused on themselves than the team, McCaffrey reportedly said. Without naming names, though, many insiders believe the message was clearly aimed at AIYUK. The cryptic comment has set off a storm of interpretations across social media and among NFL analysts, with many wondering whether the two offensive stars are seeing eye to eye heading into a pivotal season. Could this be a case of a frustrated veteran voicing concern about a teammate's attitude? Or is it just the natural tension of a competitive locker room surfacing during the long off-season grind? While some argue McCaffrey's words were taken out of context, others believe it points to a deeper rift in the 49ers offensive core. After all, both players are key pieces in head coach Kyle Shanahan's system, and any disruption in their chemistry could have ripple effects once the season kicks off. Brandon AIYUK, for his part, has remained silent on the matter, neither confirming nor denying any tension. The wideout, who is seeking a new contract and has hinted at feeling underappreciated, hasn't been shy about voicing his desire for a bigger role. That, coupled with McCaffrey's comments, paints a picture of potential friction behind the scenes. For now, it remains just a rumor, but in a league where smoke often signals fire, this story is far from over. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.